Hi guys, welcome back to Dual Craft Labs. Today we're going to actually review the Eufymake E1 UV Printer. So the Eufymake E1 printer is a UV printer. This is a little bit different than your normal inkjet printer or something along those lines that you would have in your office. You know, the old Xerox printers and things like that. This actually uses UV resin ink that is then cured by a UV light. That's really important because you don't want to look in here and look at that UV light. It'll damage your eyes. And the machine does come with a set of eyeglasses that are a special tint, but it's all enclosed. So for the most part, unless you're using the large bed, you're not going to encounter that light. We're going to talk today about this printer. We've had it for um, about a month and a half, and between Amy and I, we have run a ton of tests.
Yes.
We've also made products for our wholesale customers on this,
Yes.
and they really, really love them. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is, um, some of the prints that we did, both good and bad. Um, as you guys know, anytime that you're testing something, please do a test on the material that you're doing to make sure that you're getting a really good print out of these. And yes, you're going to waste some of your material,
Yeah.
but I think it's important that you get that really good test so that you know what your settings are going to be for
Well,
that particular product because each one is different.
well, that's it. Knowing the settings, but also knowing the limits for the materials, I think is important.
Right, absolutely.
Because you'll see others that will, I feel like having the oopses is actually really valuable. Yes, you're wasting ink or your gloss or what have you, but you know the limitations of what you're dealing with. And I
Exactly.
think that speaks volume.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to, if you're doing this as a small business or a side hustle or something like that, you just build your oops material and your test materials into the overall pricing of your products. Um, that's just good business sense there. Some of the oopses that we have, Amy's going to show us here, are what do we have? Oh, this is one where I think it moved, or no, that's the one where you had the paint tape, because
Yes.
that's one thing on this. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later on. Is the cost of the mats that go on here? They're a little bit expensive, and with that UV ink, it will actually cure onto that mat. And those mats are a disposable product that you then have to rebuy once they get
Yeah.
really, really gunked up. Now, I kind of cheated and I took a paint scraper to mine to scrape some of mine off.
Oh.
And it actually worked fairly well. The problem is it takes off the sticky part of these disposable mats. So what a lot of people do, and what we do as well, and you can see here, yeah, we put painter's tape on here. Now we do have some jigs coming that will eliminate that. They're silicone jigs, so it'll just pop right off. But I think on that one that you just showed of the witch house in Salem, is
Yes.
it the witch house
The
in
witch
Salem?
house in Salem.
Yeah, I think that you had a piece of the painter's tape curled up,
Yes.
and one of the things that I like about this machine is it auto measures. So you place your material onto the bed, whether it's the large bed or the small
Mm-hmm.
bed, and it will then take a measurement and it will know how high that is. So it knows where to place the bed so that it gets the best image. And what you did, and I've
it,
done
it
this too,
it included the curl of the
right?
painter's
So
tape, but
with
it
the yeah,
lesson learned.
yeah, I mean, I did the same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, with that curl, it measured the height of the curl. And so it wasn't in focus
Yep.
whenever it went to print.
But it also, you know what, it shows like because some people will accept an oops as that's okay. That's the machine's capabilities
Right.
versus no. That's the machine's capabilities. That's the oops. And this one was just the wrong ink settings. So in this one sample, we've got 3 different variations of ink settings, and oops because of painter's tape, and the final product that I was really looking for. So you see the variations of what to accept and what not to accept.
Right. And you learn
Yeah.
because I remember coming over whenever you printed that one
Yes.
with the painter's tape, and you're like, I don't know what happened. It just came out like this. I don't know if I have a clog. I don't know
Yep.
if it's what it is. And I happened to look into your machine and I said, it's your painter's tape. You have curls in your painter's tape.
I
So,
did.
you know, it's again a learning process with
It
this.
was.
This was not the fault of the machine.
No.
This was absolutely user error.
Operator error.
And like I said, I did the same thing. That's the reason why I knew what the issue was whenever I saw it.
Yeah.
Um,
But the
you know,
new silicone mats
yes,
will prevent that from happening, or replacing your painter's tape more frequently. As you can see in my large bed, I'm not really good at that. I just kind of I just tape over it.
yeah.
However,
you
to
know,
each their own.
yes. Some of the other things that we've done here. One of the great things about this machine is it can print just about any of your images that you can think of. I mean,
Yes.
the color on this thing is phenomenal. Let's pick up that canvas right
Canvas.
there.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't oops because it's not framed properly. It's a little bit off to the side, which is somewhat of a con for this machine. And we're going to go through, our list of pros and cons at the end. But because this is a fisheye lens here, sometimes you get a little bit off on your alignment of the photo. But if you look at the colors in that, that's amazing with
It
the
is.
oranges and the browns and the different tones that are in there.
Well, even the water, just the depth of the water with the waves and the
Yeah.
white caps. I mean,
And this isn't a texture relief. Yeah,
no, this was a
we're going to
flat.
talk about that in a
This was
minute.
all
That's a
flat.
flat print
Yeah.
on this.
And this was nothing special. This was just a dollar store canvas.
Right.
It was a
So
3-pack. So
yeah, so
I
you got a
mean,
3-pack for $1.25.
yeah.
So if you mess something up, who cares, right?
Well,
You've
and
spent 50 cents.
well, that's it. It's finding products that you already have. We all have craft rooms. We all have purchases of blanks from wherever or your local hardware store. And even if it's something you couldn't sell because it's chipped or whatever, it's a great test piece.
Right. This thing can print. We've done glass,
Mm-hmm.
we've done acrylic, we've done sublimation pieces, we've done wood. What? Oh, you did a metal sign
A metal sign.
that you hung outside.
I did.
We
Coasters, MDF,
coasters, MDF,
acrylic,
ceramic,
ceramic,
uh,
aluminum.
aluminum. So this thing can print on almost anything. However, you need to be careful if you have something that has height differences. Because again, we're going back and talking about that laser focus that it has. It actually has 2 lasers that go in an X, and it uses that to measure the height. So it's going to measure the highest height that you have,
Exactly. On
and
the bed.
you can kind of fudge it a little bit, but not a whole lot, because it
No.
really needs that focus in order to get that print on there.
Yep. In lieu of, and I think, while we're talking about the product and the abilities, and then the oopses and the inks and the cameras, and I guess here's another example. They're MDF 4-inch coasters. So one is obviously the oops, but then here is the actual image that the output I was expecting. And to be honest, I don't know what happened. I can't say that it was the tape. I can't say that it was a setting issue. I don't know. Both of these are sublimation materials.
And you
So it's good.
prepared them the
And
same way,
I
right?
did prepare them both the same exact way. I used I think it's like 92% isophoric rubbing alcohol.
Hmm.
Um, Eufy does make the promoter pads also, and in all honesty, I have tested that. I haven't seen much of a difference.
I didn't either. The only thing with promoter is with glass, certain glass. I do use the AP3122, I think is what it is. It's a promoter.
Oh, yes, I've seen
Um,
that. Another creator
it's
had talked about that.
yeah, so it's a promoter to help the ink adhere to whatever material you're using. The only thing that I've had to use it on really is certain glass
Okay.
that I have because it's a very slick glass.
Okay.
Not that all glass isn't slick, but this is, for some reason, it's just really, really a slick glass.
Interesting.
And the ink just chipped right off. It printed on there, and it looked great, but it did. I could just take my fingernail and it would chip right off, which is another. Even though this thing will print on a ton of
Mm-hmm.
materials, you do sometimes have to prepare them using the alcohol,
Yes.
especially. Get your fingerprints, the oils from your fingers. Get any of the dust that may be around your work area or anything like that.
And to piggyback on that really quickly, the residues, all if you're using sublimation products, 95% of the sublimation products have that clear film.
Right.
And just because you're pulling that off, there's still residue behind it.
Yeah.
And the machine is going to react to that, or the ink is going to react to that.
Right.
So even though you're peeling that off, I highly, highly recommend still cleaning it with whatever promoter or alcohol that you're doing, and touch everything from the sides.
Or use a pair of good gloves and make sure you're changing your gloves
Well, yes.
whenever you're doing that, because
Yeah.
you can get oils and other things. Those nitrile gloves
It picks up.
will pick up stuff because there's a little bit of static to those
Yes.
that they have. So that's definitely one of the things that I do like about this is that
Yes.
I have thrown, and just like you, I've thrown a lot of different materials
Yeah.
at it. And aside from having to prepare and dialing in my settings, it has not printed something unless I did something completely wrong, and that's on me. That's not on the machine.
So speaking of settings, while you just mentioned it,
Yeah.
We have a myriad of samples here to show you. But I think the settings are, you could print the same thing 5 different times and have 5 different settings. So I think for everybody, the settings, and even for us,
Yeah.
the settings are different, and it's based upon the output that you want. Do you want a flat image? Do you want the relief texture? Do what do you want? What is your end result, or what does your client want? You have to stick with either your branding or their branding. So the settings are going to be absolutely different straight across the board. And, just to stay on it for a second, I have 3 samples here of the exact same magnet and magnet backing. But
And those are MDF, right?
these are MDF. They are sublimation MDF. This first image I printed as a flat image, and I did not coat it with the varnish or the gloss or whatever. And I did a scratch test, and you can see that. But I really loved this image. So I went in afterwards, put it back on, re-snapshotted it, and put the gloss over it. And now, we're good to go. Being with that, same thing with this. It's just a flat image. But now this was a textured image.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I don't know if the camera will do it justice and pick it up, but you can see the differences between the two. And the end result for the settings was vastly different for this one. Use more ink, use more varnish versus this one.
Yep.
So, your settings are also going to be based on how much you're printing, how much ink you want to use.
Yeah, which brings us to another thing, the software. this machine is, the machine. This is what actually physically does your product. However, there is software that you need to use from Eufy. There is a phone app for iOS as well as Android, but there's also a desktop app. The desktop app does a little bit more than the phone app does.
Yeah, that's what I
And
primarily use.
I got to tell you, the software in there, don't use it for design. If you're thinking you're
No.
going to be able to go in there and do,
No.
all of these great design work, you're not going to. It's not there yet. This is new software for them. It's building. They're getting there slowly but surely. But right now, it is just not up to doing designs and things like that. I
It's
know you
not.
use Canva.
I do.
I use Illustrator a lot.
And it's
But
super versatile that it will import any image, whether it's
right,
a stock photo image from your camera roll or something that you did from Canva or
yeah,
Illustrator. It's got a lot of the file extensions that
hmm,
are very compatible. So, there are workarounds to it, so don't
yeah,
get discouraged. But I mean, if you wanted to just add text over something, you can do modifications after you have
right,
uploaded your image. Um, but that also being said is, yes, they have the AI features that you can use coins and all
right.
this other stuff and earn credits, as all of these design softwares have nowadays. But, like Greg was saying, don't expect to go in there and start just designing away. Already have something somewhere else and import it.
Yeah, if you can do some basic editing in the software right now,
Yeah.
you can make adjustments to it to, the brightness or the
Yep.
contrast, or, remove a
Resizing.
background,
Yep.
a basic background. You can do that. You can add text to it. But if you're going to try and do any heavy editing, and you don't have to use something like Adobe Illustrator or
No.
Canva, there's plenty of free ones out there. Inkscape is one.
Yep.
You may want to download Inkscape or GIMP is another one. That's more along the lines of photos though, but you
Yeah.
could still do some editing in those.
Canva has a free version.
Okay.
So I do pay for the
Yeah.
promoter, pro version or premiere or whatever they call it. But even their intro version, their free version, the options are
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, don't feel like, oh my gosh, it's another expense.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be. So that's one thing I don't like, but like I said, they are getting better.
Yeah.
They are updating it on a regular basis. They are taking feedback from the
Yeah.
users. They're listening to the users.
Yeah.
But one of the things within the software that you were getting at is, if you save something from the software and it saves in its own proprietary file, it's an EMPY or something like, or PF, or I forget what it is. I think it's an EMPF
Yeah.
that you can save it to. It does not save the settings. So whenever you bring that project back into the software, it will give you the default settings, and you may have to change how many whites you have, how many colors, CMYK, if you want gloss, if it's a 3D texture or a relief texture or something like that. You have to go back in and make those changes again.
Yeah.
I actually have as I spit all over your machine here, I actually have a spreadsheet that I keep so that I know what all of my settings are for each one of my products.
So, yes, I actually use the side margins of the software.
Mm.
So the canvas,
Yep.
I do a text image in there and put out whatever the settings are, how much underlayment, which I was using, what failed.
Right.
And I modify that because, I'm still in test phase. We're still working on my first wholesale order. But for that, and then I unclick it so it doesn't print, but it's
Yes.
still always there off in the margins. So I know my shortcut, I know my cheat sheet, so if anybody were to use that file, if you were to come over, in a
Yep.
pinch and use that file, the settings are all right there.
Right.
So, and I feel like they have been very responsive to listening to customers' feedback through the betas and everything else, that this may just be a temporary inconvenience
Yes.
for those of us that are in here for hours on a day. But for me, that, you know, I had to make that mental note. Check your settings if you're going into reprint.
Yes. And the reason why I keep a separate Excel spreadsheet, and it doesn't have to be Excel. There's plenty of free ones out there as well. Is because I also have my settings for products for my lasers. Each different laser, I have 3 different lasers. I have a CO2, I have a UV, I have a diode. So I want to make sure my settings are there. I also have 3D printers. So I want to make sure that my settings are there as well. I've got a lot of settings. And I keep them in different tabs on this giant spreadsheet that I have. But that works for me.
Well,
you guys need to have your own
different.
workflow. Figure out what works for you.
But just be mindful that the settings, when you shut down the software, the settings are going to modify. They're going to tweak a little bit. So, you know, whatever works for you.
Yeah. 2 of the other things that we haven't talked about yet on the machine is this actually has a rotary. So you can do cups and glasses and round things. I wouldn't do a sphere, but you can actually use them with the rotary. And Amy's showing you the rotary. Now this thing is a little bit heavy, so be careful whenever you put it in there. It's heavy on the right end, I believe, or left end, whatever the drive end is. Yeah. And it just snaps in there. You take out the bed. There's a little square piece. We were printing something here.
Yep, we'll show that in a second, but just for the sake of, the only thing when you're switching your products, your beds, your rotaries, is you're going to just want to watch where their little boxes that has all the computer chips to sync into here. So that's the only real thing that you're lining up, is making sure that this box is going right in.
Yeah. And you just pop it in there and snap it into place. Done. And you're ready to go. Then you can put your, whatever it is that you want to print on there, and make sure that it fits. Yep. You take this piece right here, it'll slide over, and everything. But I gotta say that they have made it very easy with the rotary to be able to do all of the products, even cups with handles. Well, I did one. Check one of our earlier videos that we have out there, where I printed a textured, our little textured monster. Mm-hmm. I printed the orange one on there. He still doesn't have a name. And I screwed it up, but it printed awesome. The colors were vibrant. It was a texture relief, so you got his fur and everything. Go out and check that video, but you can see that actually had a handle on it, and I was able to do that. Removable. The handle was not removable.
Some tumblers, mugs, what have you, you can actually go in with a tiny like eyeglass screwdriver and remove the handle and get the full wrap. So that is just product specific as well, because you really, as this auto measures, there's all the important stuff is up here in the center that you don't really want to mess with and have that handle, swinging back and forth.
Yeah. So. And, one of the things with the handle is it won't do a full wrap.
No.
It's going to leave a margin so that your print head is not hitting the handle. Mm-hmm. I think that the margin is a little bit too wide. That's just me. Possibly. I wish it was a little bit closer to the to the handle. But that may be a limitation of the machine, because that print head has to be so close to the material it's printing on. It may not be able to bring that handle up any further. So it may just be a limitation on the machine with anything with a handle. But it printed really, really well.
It did.
And it was so easy. I just set my mug in there, and then over here there is right here, there's a little piece, and you probably can't see it, but you just slide that in there, and that fits inside of the lip of your cup to stabilize everything and help it rotate whenever you're printing that. But it will auto measure it. The software automatically detects that the rotary is there.
Yeah.
It will then auto measure, just like it auto measures everything else, and it will put on the screen in the software, instead of a regular canvas, that you would be doing with the small bed or the large bed, it will show you the height and width, as well as it'll do thirds.
Yes.
It'll section it out in thirds. So you're going to have a middle line and then 2 end lines.
As if it was to.
As if it was going to
Your
wrap
yeah,
in
your
your
unfolded
area.
wrap area.
Exactly. Which makes it really nice because you can center it, or you can move it to either side. You can have 3 different images, whatever you need to do with it. And if you're doing a full wrap on something without a handle, you can just fill that entire space, and it will go ahead and print all the way around, you know, and everything. So that's the rotary. The other thing that this comes with is the ability to do stickers. So it comes with a laminator over here. And this is if you get the deluxe bundle or the full bundle, or I forget what it's called.
I think it was the deluxe bundle.
Is it the
I got mine through the deluxe bundle.
Yeah. And we got ours through the Kickstarter campaign, by the way. So we're going to talk about cost here a little bit later. But
these were add-ons.
Yeah, these were add-ons, the rotary and the laminator. But this does come with the A film and B film. Yes. But again, it makes it really easy. And don't forget, guys, these are not, even though we call them stickers, they're not stickers. They are UV DTF decals. Yes. So you're not going to have, you know, in a sticker, you know, you kind of have a backing paper that is the sticky part. And, you know, you see that paper on the back with a sticker. With a UV DTF, with the UV DTF decal, thank you. That's sticker. The word I was looking for. It just was not coming out today. It's actually what you see on the print is going to adhere to whatever you have. And Amy showed you the shot glass here. And you can see, you know, this was a test. You can see she's kind of tested a whole bunch of other things. So this is her test shot glass. A little bit big, but, you know, she wanted to test to see what it actually looked like there. And you can see that there's no like white sticker paper behind it. There is just the letters, the which, and, you know, and the numbers there that you have available. And that's actually what's sticking there. So this is not really a sticker. A lot of people call these stickers, but they're not really stickers. They're decals. Because they're UV, you know, I've had one on my car since we've had this. One of the first things I did. And so about a month and a half, almost 2-ish months now or so.
One of which was a winter month.
One of which was a winter month. We're up in New England. We're in Massachusetts. If you can't tell, we show you a lot of Salem stuff. But it still has the color. It still is in good condition. And it is, I would probably have to take a razor blade to scrape this off.
Well, and to piggyback what Greg is saying is, so this is my test shot glass from other products, other machines, lasers, what have you. This sat in my dishwasher.
How many times did you wash that?
It was in there for over 2 weeks.
Okay.
So however many times I ran that, and I do full heat, full everything, and it's still perfect. So I've also made these stickers for water bottles, which, you know, is the big fun trending thing. Mine is upstairs, sorry. But my sister came over, she saw them. I printed her out a small section of stickers. Actually my Easter Highland cow, but this was an oops. But the image I printed into
too dark.
a decal sticker for her. Her granddaughter got some stickers, decals, what have you, as well. And I have to tell you, my sister is not always very nice to her water bottles. And I saw her 2 weeks afterwards. There were dings and dents on the water bottle, but not the DTF sticker. And I was like, we were in the car and I couldn't take a picture or a video, but I was like, we need to, that is great.
I've met your sister. It doesn't surprise me.
See, there you go.
But that leads me to another thing. You've had these and you put these through the dishwasher.
Yes.
I do not recommend you do that
No.
because UV ink can be toxic, and if it it's toxic, especially if it's not cured. It can be toxic. So if you are using it, I
Hand
recommend
wash.
that it's hand wash only. Especially if you're selling things like drinkware or anything like that,
Always have that disclaimer.
always have that disclaimer,
Yeah.
either on there or somewhere where people know it. If they don't and they put it through the dishwasher, that's on them.
Yeah.
But like Amy said, that's the decal.
Yep.
You know, I've had other people in other videos, they've done the same thing where they've done it with the rotary right on the drinkware, and they have not had an issue putting it in the dishwasher or anything like that. I would not recommend doing that, but you do you.
That's it. We're doing things for test purposes, so we can make these videos to help you guys out, troubleshoot. But you're gonna get faulty things too. So you may get a batch of stickers that just didn't laminate and heat press or UV properly. So I mean, things happen. Things are going to happen, and that's kind of what we've been trying to troubleshoot in the last month and a half with this machine and products. And some people are not having success printing directly on glass.
Right.
I have not thus far. I for St. Patrick's Day, there's a video on our Instagram, and this beautiful doodle, and kiss me, I'm Irish, and the colors. And the next morning, after everyone left, I washed it, and the decal, the ink, came right off. And I did clean it with rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
But if I ever did it again, yes, I'll try it with ink one more time. But I may not have done the gloss on that. Now that I'm talking this through, all right. So next time I do it, I'm going to do it with the gloss.
Try it with the gloss. See if that makes it stick a little bit better. Because if you think about it, it's you did a layer of color than a layer of white because you're doing it on the back.
Yes,
so we flipped, and you mirror it. And so you're going to think about if you're looking at it from the front, you're going to do the CMYK white, and then the gloss will go over the top of that and kind of seal everything in.
Yeah.
That may work.
Yes.
I've not had luck with that. With the glass I've used.
Yeah. And this was, again, kudos to the dollar store hot plate.
But here's the good thing about that. You use that for a very specific purpose, for a very specific holiday.
I did.
Now you can use that again for another holiday.
Yes,
and then if you wash it right off.
I'm not storing anything.
So you can just keep using that for each of your holidays. There you go, problem solved. See, I just saved you money.
See, I was going to mirror a sticker decal and pop it on the back of it, which I still actually want to do.
So that would work too.
I should do 2 more. I should do one with, like you said, the gloss.
Yeah.
Seal it, see if that holds, and then do the sticker one and kind of run that test.
Right.
So, the more you look at products and the more you have these conversations, the more you're learning, and that's how we're figuring all of this out is, trial and error. And you know what? Don't get upset about it, because it's fun. And I don't know. I love it. I love it.
Me, the fun of creating, whether it's a laser, and this thing has opened up so many possibilities with the color, whether it's 3D printing, whether it's the UV printer, whether it's a laser, whatever kind of laser you have. The creation part is what I love doing. That's really what drives me. And if I get an idea at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm up out of bed and I'm down in my office, and I'm testing it. Because if I don't, I'll forget about it because I have the memory of a goldfish.
Because I will make notes in my phone and do the same thing. I won't necessarily run down here, but I will first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee and be like, all right, I got to work through this and nothing else is happening. It really is. And my mindset now going into stores is I can make that now.
Right.
I can customize that now. I can, absolutely anything, and even, phone cases. We all, how often are we all upstairs and
Right.
on the island and everyone's phones are down and it's like, oh, sorry, I picked up your phone, didn't mean to.
Yep.
Well, okay, great. If we had customized cases, you know, but yes, I printed this on the machine and this one was my first one. It was an oops. It didn't, and it was a test, obviously,
Yep.
but there was no white behind it.
Right. So
And it
you
was a
can't
flat
see.
image.
Yeah. It's a
And
little dark. Pick
this
up my
one,
green phone case over there.
pardon
Yeah.
my head.
Yep. So this is the purple dude. We also have an orange one. You've seen them probably in some of our other videos. I printed this 4 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it's been 4 or 5 weeks ago that I printed this. This has been in and out of my pocket.
Yep.
I carry a wallet that is aluminum in my front pocket, so it sits right here. So it's constantly rubbing across this. And this still looks as new as it did whenever I took it out of the printer.
It does. To piggyback really quickly, my case is one of the mag cases. So the magnetic I have behind the image built into the case, and it sticks, it holds. Massachusetts roads are not the best, especially frost heaves in winter, and I have the magnetic car mount in my car. And this being a textured image and stuck on there, knock on wood, has not fallen off yet. So
you know what's going to happen now, don't you?
I know. Well, I'm not going to take my car out today.
So, some of the key features of this machine are the full color. Any image that you have, you can print and it will come out just as you designed it. Or if it's a photo, it will come out just like the photo. Do we have anything that's like well, that's designed.
Which one? Like a photo like that I've taken?
Yeah. Okay, here. This is a photo that Amy took. This happens to be the lighthouse down at Winter Island, if I'm looking at the right thing.
You are.
Okay. And that's a photo she took. That is not something that was designed in software.
Nope.
That's directly off her camera roll.
Strictly uploaded.
Where the colors come out exactly like they were on the photo. That happens to be the witch house. That's another one that she took there.
But we're looking at two different materials too. This is ceramic, and this is MDF sublimation.
Yep.
So, but the quality for both is
I mean the color is just outstanding and amazing. It hits it right as it should be with each of the colors, and it comes out exactly like either you designed it or with the photo that you did.
Mm-hmm. While you're talking, I'm going to finish the ornament that we were printing and product that we were printing, but I need my little picker.
The other thing is, with this machine, they call it 3D texture printing. It's not really 3D. It's more 2.5D. It will build up layers, and you can do it either as a texture print or as a raised print. Mm-hmm. And you can adjust the height of what that is within the software. And I think you can go up to about 5 millimeters? That seems awfully high.
3, I think it's 3.
Is it 3 millimeters that you can, layer up either sections of your whatever you're printing onto your material, or you can raise the whole thing up. Again, it has that ability for you to kind of customize it to what you want. One of the things though that you got to be careful with that is it uses a ton of ink, especially white and gloss, because the white and gloss is what they use to create those heights on your material, and then it'll print the color CMYK on top of it. So you want to be careful with that. And we're going to talk about the ink and the cost here in a little bit, but the inks are not inexpensive. They're not really expensive, but compared to some of the other inks on the market, the UV inks that are out there that people use for their professional machines like the Mamaki or anything like that, they're a little bit more expensive. And honestly, I think that's where Eufy sees them making money, is not necessarily on the machine. We're going to talk about the price of the machine here a little bit later, but I think they're going the the inkjet route and making money off of the
Yeah.
different inks. So you actually have 5 different inks. You have the CMYK, you have the white, and then you have the gloss. Those are your standards, so they can mix and create all of these vibrant colors that it's able to do, and you've seen today. But just be very careful if you're doing a lot of those textured types of images, because you're going to go through that white. Which brings us to a current con. Inks are hard to come by right now.
Yes.
This is April of 2026. I want to point that out because hopefully their supply chain will open up a little bit more. We did each receive two sets of inks. We had to wait about 2 weeks after we got the printer for that to happen, but we got 2 full sets of inks with the cleaning cartridge. Talk about the cleaning cartridge in just a second. But again, this is, I'm hoping, a temporary issue. The other issue is that this is a self-maintaining machine. So you don't have to do anything with it. You set it up, which, by the way, setup was really super easy. At least it was for me.
Mine was as well. We even made videos on it.
Right.
And
go back and see our videos on the setup. But it was super easy. I just downloaded the app on my phone, and it walks you through what you need to do. I think there was one issue that I had that was not explained well, but it was very, very minor. But the setup itself is easy.
Yeah.
Once this thing is set up, just leave it on.
Yes, that is one
don't
of the biggest
shut it
things.
off.
Yes.
Don't shut it off. I went away for 2 weeks and I just left my machine on.
Yep.
I came back and I did a ink test print.
Did you have to inject ink into the lines?
I did have to inject ink
okay.
into the lines because it went into
moisture mode.
Moisture mode, or it went to sleep, or whatever they're calling it, moisture mode. But all I did was I injected the ink back into the lines and ran a test print, a color test print. I have a color test print, and I didn't have any issues. There was no clogging. I didn't have to do any cleaning. Knock on wood, I have not had to do any of the cleans that are available. But with that said, there is a cartridge that holds your cleaning fluid that it uses to clean the lines. What I'm seeing is this cleaning cartridge is getting filled up quickly. But again, just like the colors, you can't get the cleaning cartridge. Again, this may be temporary. I'm hoping it's temporary. And once they get all of the Kickstarters done, because now the people over in Europe and other countries are starting to get theirs, they want to make sure they have ink for these people who did the Kickstarter, which was last year, by the way. It took about 9 months from the end of the Kickstarter till the time that they were starting to receive here in the U.S. the machines. So I'm hoping once all of that is done, that the inks and the cleaning cartridges will kind of free up.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because this is definitely, if you're a small business owner, if you're a crafter, or someone like us who does wholesale for local towns, this is something that is going to become a daily used item, heavily daily used. And, I'm not going to lie, I am scared to use it heavily daily and promote what I can offer for wholesale because of the ink.
Yeah.
And, and I love that they're fulfilling everybody with their, they're doing all the things right. However, this was just a very, very successful Kickstarter. And because it
Yeah,
was, and I'll lead into, what you want to talk about is it was budget friendly versus
absolutely.
some of the more industrial UV printers that none of us could afford or had the space for. But this is
Nor the knowledge
desktop.
on how to
Yeah.
clean them, and because
They're
these
heavily
industrial ones
maintenance.
are you have to manually clean those and
Yes.
all of this stuff. Now, could we have learned it? Yeah,
Well,
but do I have the time or
no,
the $10,000 or $15,000?
no.
Um, we got these on Kickstarter, by the way, but I looked this morning and they're actually on sale. You can get the deluxe bundle for $3,420. Um, that maybe, yeah. I mean, we're calling it, budget friendly. That's our budget.
Yeah.
We've also taken into account what we think that we can make from this whenever we wholesale and whenever we retail at either
Yes.
craft fairs or
Any of our online
online.
stores.
Yeah, at our Etsy stores and in our other places that we sell. We've taken into account the cost of that.
Yeah.
But we did not pay that
No,
for this. However, I don't think
I
3420
don't either.
is bad at all. I think it's the deluxe bundle. I think is going for right around $3,800 whenever it's not on sale. So
Yeah.
again, it's under 4,000. That may seem steep, but if you're a crafter who does craft fairs or you're doing wholesaling or even retailing on Etsy, this is going to take your crafting up a notch.
Yeah.
With full color and printing on multiple types of materials, and it just opens up a whole new world.
It really does. And again, and everyone's budget is different and everyone's crafting experience is different. But it would absolutely, if you're looking to take your small business or your hobby to a new level and you've been on the fence about something like this, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't have very many cons, and my only cons are with the software, which I feel like over time, with more use and more feedback, they've been very receptive,
Yes.
and that would change.
Yeah.
But overall, use of the machine and what it can do, and I, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm biased here, but I've been loving this, and I have very few cons.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pros and cons.
Sure.
Some of the pros, you can print on almost anything. Now, there is a caveat to that. Sometimes you have to prep your material.
Sure.
You have to get the right settings for things. And, but ultimately you can print on almost anything. The other thing, though, that you have to caveat is, for the most part, it has to be an almost flat type of product or material that you're using, so that you're not getting the height differences whenever it picks up the laser with the with the focus, with the autofocus. That's on acrylic
Yes.
that you did there, which looks awesome. The other thing is the 2.5D texture printing. Again, that takes a lot of ink. However,
Gorgeous.
it gives it such dimension and such a unique look for a lot of these things that in some instances, I think it's worth it. The ease of use. Putting the software aside, and even the software is fairly easy to use. You're just not going to do a whole lot of detailed design work in it.
Yeah.
But the process flow is fairly easy to use. If you've used Xtool, if you've used any Cricut or
Creative Space,
right, any of the other the We Create Make It software, which is a laser software like Xtool, they're all very similar. And this was kind of built with that in mind. But the software itself is somewhat designed in the layout of the design or the UI to be very similar to other softwares out on the market for lasers. Again, like the We Create or the Xtool software that you may be used to using.
Yeah.
So
there are a lot of parallels in the software mirroring other softwares that And even if it is your first time and you're just jumping into crafting, the software is not intimidating. It's
Right.
very easy. It's very user friendly. Within an hour, if you don't have experience with this type of crafting software, you'd be in good shape.
Yeah, definitely. The setup, again, setup was super easy. I had a little hiccup because the way that the prompt was worded
Oh yeah.
didn't make sense to me. That's probably a me issue, more so than Eufymake, but it was very, very minor. Setup was easy. From nuts to bolts to printing your first print,
Yeah.
I think it took me 45 minutes, and a
Yeah.
lot of that was the time to inject the inks and
Yep.
do all of the stuff that the hardware needs to do, the actual
Yes.
printer needs to do for first setup.
Yeah.
But again, it's just kind of follow the prompts and
Yeah.
click,
Yeah.
making sure that things are right. I will give one warning on the large bed. There are two tiny pieces of foam. They are black,
Yes.
and the back of the large bed is
It's
black. I missed one of them. And
Yep.
whenever I put the large
There's
bed
kinda
in
like
for the
white in
first
here.
time, it was keeping it from moving back and forth. And I got the god awfulest grinding noise.
If you know, you know.
And I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah, I've
And
had that.
it was so, I'm researching, what's causing this. And, I'm looking, after looking at it like 3 or 4 times, I missed this stupid piece of foam.
Yeah.
So Eufymake, please make it a different color. Because I don't think it's even pointed out to remove those in the instructions.
I only knew because you had set up your machine first and you're like, watch for those.
Yeah.
And I did see another video. Somebody else had
Yes.
commented on that. So hopefully Eufymake does see that and fixes it. But just be mindful.
Yeah, there's 2 of them, by the
yes.
way. They're kind of long with a little round piece to them.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that they are that those are removed, or else you're going to get a god awful grinding noise.
You get the same god awful grinding noise if you're using the large bed and you don't open the back door.
You have to open the back door for the large bed.
Yes. Small
or
bed,
else it will
rotary,
hit it.
you don't have to, but the large bed,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to regret that decision, but no, you just open the door. It stopped the print,
Yep.
and everything was successful after that. There was no, knock on wood, further damage. But
Right.
yeah, same thing. So the door can stay closed for the small stuff, the mini bed, the rotary. Large bed, just drop down that back door.
Yep. This thing weighs about 59 pounds. It is not light.
Yep.
The outside is plastic material. However, it is constructed very well.
Yes.
On the inside where
Yes.
it counts. So let's talk about the cons. Potentially the cost of the machine.
Yep.
Again, right now it's on sale for $34.20. Normally it's somewhere around $3,800. That
Yep.
may be out of reach for a lot of people. I think that you can buy this using like Klarna or something like that and do payments.
You can. I have seen that.
On
Yes.
there. So, you can make payments on this.
Yep.
If you want. Cost of ink. We kind of touched on this earlier. The full set of ink, which is your CMYK, your white, your gloss, and your cleaning cartridge, is $300. $300. Yeah, $299 plus tax. Is that free shipping?
Free shipping.
Free shipping on that. For $300, it should be free shipping.
That's how I agree.
So the cost of your ink, you can buy the colors and your white and gloss separately.
Yes.
Those are $42, $43.
Yeah,
and
I think 42.
Yeah, so it's 100 milliliters. So if you break that down, it comes to be 43 cents per milliliter.
But then you can break it down even further.
Right.
Per
print.
Per print. This has all of the colors. This doesn't. So you're going to use a different amount of ink on everything. Right. And if you're, for example, using a white background, I'm not using the white in the software, I'm only doing
Yeah.
the CMYK. So, the sublimation background, does help with
Hmm.
that. So each and every thing that you're printing, and this is raised, it has the white, the gloss, all the things, a lot of ink, minimal ink.
Right. So depending on
Cost.
what you're doing, yeah. And the software will give you a breakdown of
Yes.
what the amount of each ink that it's using. So it will tell you, the black, that's the K in CMYK, is black in this instance, but it'll tell you how much of that it's using, how much of the white it's using, how much of the yellow, the magenta, and the cyan that it's using. And, you know, it will give you that before you actually start the print. And then once the print is done, it will pop up a little window and give you the time that it actually took, that was not an estimate. And it will again break down how much ink it used. It allows you then to either calculate it yourself, or like I said, you can go out and use one of those ink calculators to see exactly how much it's costing you.
So to just
Yes.
jump in, because I
Yeah.
still have it on the screen. So this was printing when we started the video, and it used 0.16 milliliters of ink for this 3-inch round.
Right.
It did not use any white. So the
Mm-hmm.
most that was used was actually the gloss, because this is, a wholesale product, and I wanted to make sure that it was,
It
doing,
didn't rub off
it didn't
and
rub
chip
off.
and
So
yeah.
0.16 milliliters, and it did not use one of the colors. And again, I
So
don't have
it
my
cost you
calculator.
approximately a nickel
Yep,
in ink
and ink.
for that particular product.
So
So
like I said, it cost me more to buy these.
yeah, I mean the actual material costs more, and I know where you got them from because I got them from the same place. But it's you hear a lot about the cost of ink, and whenever you start thinking about it, yes, it's $300 or $42 for a
Set
yeah,
individually.
100 milliliters, which is 42 cents a milliliter. Um, but then it's broken down. So that she just showed you cost you about a nickel in ink. So it's not going to cost you 42 cents every time that you
No.
make a thing. Now, again, if you do the 2.5D, that
Yes.
relief and textures and
Yep.
things like that is definitely going to cost you more money
Absolutely.
because you're using all that white and gloss to build up. There's been some talk about odor with this. Now, again, this is a UV printer, so it's using UV resin ink. Anybody who's had a resin 3D printer, you will be very familiar with the odor that this has. For me, I don't even really notice it, to be honest with you. Even with the doors open, and I'm my office space or my craft space that I have is very small. Unlike yours, yours is much larger. I'm a little envious, by the way, because I have no more room to put any more machines, and I want more machines. Don't we
Don't
all?
we all?
Um, but the odor, I don't notice it. It sits right by my desk, right across from my desk. I don't notice it with the doors open. I do not use any venting other than what comes with the machine. It does come in here. It does have a carbon filter that it supposedly runs all of the
Yes.
air through and filters it out. There are other people, and I'm not discounting them, that it affects them. Some people get headaches, some people get dizzy. Um, so the odor from that resin can affect people very, very
Yeah.
differently.
And
So that may be just something to be aware of.
yeah, and I think that the environment, the space in which you are working in has an impact on that as well. I'm in a larger, more ventilated space, airflow. I do have windows. I do have a back door with cross ventilation. No different than if I'm running bulk items on the laser
Right.
engraver or cutting. You're going to get that smell. You're going to get the char. However, the first couple of like really lengthy prints, I only really noticed the odor when I did the laminating. Um, and I've laminated twice since then,
Hmm.
and then there was no odor. So I think it may have been just like a burn off odor, or I don't know. I had a bit of a problem with that. I did put the air purifier on. I lit a
Yep.
candle. I opened the windows, did all of the things.
Yeah. And that was the very first time that
That was
we
the
did
first
the
one.
decals.
Yeah. Other than that, I keep the doors open when I'm printing,
Yeah, I do too.
So it's really not, I'm not affected by it. Do you smell it? Yes.
Yes.
Have people come through the office? Oh, are you printing something or what? Yes, it's faint. But again, if
For
you're
us.
for us, everyone is different. Sensitivities are different. Work areas are different. Airflow. So just be mindful. Some people have built these monstrosity structures
Yeah.
around it and piping and piped out with exhaust fans. And again, if that works for you and you have the space for that, by all means. Is it necessary for us?
For us,
No.
no.
For
But
them, for you, maybe,
your
but
mileage may vary.
it's not a big con for me.
It's not really for me either, but I wanted to list it because I've seen in a
Yes,
lot of forums
there
and in a
are.
lot of discords and things like that
Yes.
that people are mentioning it, and then other people chime in and said it's not a big deal for me. So, and the ink, just by the nature of what it is, it's resin. It is toxic. Don't drink it. Don't lick it, especially
your
while it's
hands.
wet. It can, on some people, again, on some people, if you get it on your fingers or on your hands or on your skin, it can irritate them. I don't see how that could happen, but it could happen.
Everyone,
Everyone's different,
yeah.
and anyway, the next thing is speed. I am putting this as a con with a asterisk.
Okay.
It can be a little slow depending on what you're printing. So something like the canvas over here that we showed earlier, how long did that take you? 45 minutes to an hour to print? Do you remember?
It was actually like 20 something minutes.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
Yes.
All right, well,
And
there goes my whole thing.
Well, no, but it's a flat image. But now, mind you, size comparison,
right.
the cell phone case took about a good half hour. I think
Right.
it was like 32 or 34 minutes to do the cell phone
Mhm.
case with, a raised texture, the gloss, everything. And this was just a flat image. So, if you want to do something quick in a pinch, this took 2 minutes.
Right.
But again, if you're doing a larger, and I don't, if you're doing a larger image in a larger work area, it's going to take more time. If you're doing something quick on the fly to test, or you're running out the door and you want to customize something, do you have to expect half hour, 45 minutes? No. Yeah. But again, it's the detail, it's the color, it's textured. All of these things are factors. Can it be time consuming? Yes.
Yeah, so this has one print head and it only prints in one direction because it cures, it's got a UV light and it cures it in the other direction. Yes. So it's omnidirectional, is that right? No, that would be every place. It's unidirectional. It only prints in one pass. So I think it prints from right to left. From where I'm standing, it would be left to right for you. And then it cures the other way.
You can hear when the machine switches
and you
over
can
too.
hear, yeah, whenever it switches over. Which brings us to another con. Your machine does not do this. I've noticed. My machine, whenever it is stirring the white ink, there's a little agitator, and it's it's just a little piece of plastic inside the white cartridge that spins, because the white is thicker, and it needs to. You don't want it to settle. Mine is very loud. Yours is not.
That's interesting.
And it may be just the cartridge. I'll see what it's like whenever I change my cartridge.
Well, that's, yeah.
But mine is very loud. It's a very loud whirring sound. Yeah. And I can hear it upstairs in my house. whenever it goes off. So I have to keep my door closed.
Yeah. There are certain, there's some type of timing within the machine when it's not in use that you will hear a click.
Yes.
And you'll hear the ink or the moisture being injected in so the print head doesn't clog and the lines stay clean and all this other stuff.
So, would you recommend this?
Oh, heck yeah.
I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. The cons are works around. One of the biggest cons that I have, it's not the cost. Again, we bought this on Kickstarter. It's not the cost of the ink. The odor doesn't bother us. It's not even the speed, because I can work around the speed.
Yeah. Would you?
I would. Again, the biggest con that I have is the software. It is not meant for design. So, there's the workaround. You design in another piece of software.
Yes.
That is my biggest con.
My biggest con is also with the software and pet peeve, because I'm not always patient. I've got this great image up here and I want to print it and I want to test it. I want it now. However, I am used to other machines, other tools that have a faster response time with the snapshot. The camera in here and the accuracy is spot on. I've printed, as you've seen, a multitude of materials and heights, what have you. It is just time consuming to have the machine do the snapshot. It doesn't matter if it's the small bed, the large bed, whatever. So I have tried to train myself to not move something after the snapshot is done, because it's just another, and I do want to put a timer on it. I want to say
probably 2-3 minutes.
Yeah,
it takes.
maybe
It depends. The small bed is maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes. The large bed, though, and the rotary are easily 2.5, 3 minutes.
And it's not just recognizing where your small item is, it's recognizing the whole work area.
Right.
So that, for me, and if you're just getting started, just be mindful when you start that snapshot, make sure your material is there, or all of the materials,
and straight.
And because the second you move something, you don't realize you're actually moving the whole thing out of place. So that snapshot, and now your alignment is going to be off a little bit.
Right.
But that is probably my biggest con. Can I work around it? Yes. Have I learned to adapt to it? Yes. Has it taught me patience? Yes.
Not enough.
Hey. Easy.
Yes, I would absolutely recommend this, especially if you are a small creator. If you want to get into craft fairs, if you want to get into, potentially retailing these, whether it be on Etsy or on, any of the other platforms that are out there. Even if you're going to wholesale in small batch quantities, I definitely recommend this, because this will take your products to an entirely new level.
Absolutely.
You're no longer reliant on Cricut and putting, stickers and decals on things. You're printing directly to the item.
It's become a one-step process versus a 2, 3, 4-step process with other machines.
Yeah.
And you're not, and trust me, I started with Cricut. You're not weeding anymore, especially these DTF stickers.
There's no weeding.
There's no weeding. And I love my weeding tools. Trust me, I have them in every corner. But it's more efficient.
Yes. The printing may take a little bit longer than you would on a Cricut, but the entire process is much quicker.
Yeah. And the output speaks volumes. I mean,
yes,
I've been stopped in a store and in a restaurant. Where did you order your case? And I need to have a business card or a QR code or something, because people have been literally wanting to order on the spot.
Yeah.
The items sell themselves.
If you can, we definitely recommend it. From both of us.
Yeah.
There are a few cons, but the pros and the ability of this machine far outweigh
Yes.
those little cons. And again, the biggest one I think is the software, but
Yes.
it's going to get there.
It will.
It's going to get there. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment.
Any
We read
questions?
all of the comments. If you have any
Yeah.
questions, let us know. We appreciate you viewing this, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.